please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back. Now we have had some disappointing result reactions. It's just a while back. Okay, by the way, speaking of result reactions, that's AU Small Finance Bank. Those are the numbers that are filtering in. The gross NPA number seems to be quite okay. We have been working with, I have some details with me. So we were working with a NII growth of about 79% and a profit growth 1.38%. That's the net NPA. Profit growth of 24% is what we have. Which is a little lower than estimates. Some street estimates were hoping for a profit growth of 40%. That has happened, and there's a bit of an increase in the gross NPA, not something that's taken well by the street. I think any financial company, if there's a gross NPA increase, I think there's a bit of worry on it.
Also, I guess slightly on the expensive side. So it's a stock which has done well. I think it was 550 just not long back. Recent listing, of course. So everything I think boils down to market positioning. But good numbers, overall. Yes, gross NPA 2.2%. It's at the end of the day, it's a small finance company which has turned into a bank. So obviously there's going to be a bit of an issue here. But I think these are okay numbers. These are I think it's a high pedigree stock, and I think it's a kind of stock where investors look for dips to buy. So let's see. I mean, in fact, as we speak, the stock is already in the green, up about 1% right now.
Yeah. Amrish, okay, so before we let you go today, I mean, it's been a very heavy last couple of days in terms of earnings. Anything fresh, any fresh ideas that came to mind?
I mean, not really fresh ideas, but again, I've been going with, whatever I've been recommending in the past, and they've done decently well in the recent past. Again, there are stocks like Engineers India, Jain Irrigation, Ashok Leyland. I mean, all of these we have seen about 10 to 15% sort of a move from the lower levels. And I think these are the ones to be held on, because I clearly see this rally which has started in the last 10 days to last at least for the next 2.5 months, surely till Diwali. And I think that's the time we should get really good returns from the mid-cap space, where we have seen that pain for the last 6 months. So I don't think one should be really be in a hurry to exit with this sort of a move. I think one should just hold on at least for the next 8 to 10 weeks.
All right, Amrish, thanks a lot for your time today. It was good talking to you. That's the view from Amrish Baliga. Anand Tandon is also with us. Anand, good afternoon. I wanted your thoughts first on PNB. As we speak, it's down about 8.5%. I know the other PSU banks have had a big rally from the lows. PNB also has had a rally, but not as big. Your thoughts on, at 8% lower and very close to its recent lows. Is it, a trade worth taking or investment worth taking?
Well, from the point of view of something which is beaten down dramatically and therefore may have a chance to bounce, you could look at it. But if you're really looking to play the corporate turnaround, I would argue that the best place to be is in the leading banks. Why do you have to necessarily do bottom fishing? I think State Bank and the PSUs and Axis and ICICI offer reasonable value as it is. They are not particularly expensive, and the books are a lot clearer, and there is a greater understanding of what can happen from here without having to worry about government action and so on. So I think they are probably better bets to be in.
Okay. Anand, what thoughts on a stock like TVS Motors? Came out with numbers as a bit of a relief rally because at least there's no further margin compression. If anything, margin has improved quarter on quarter. Would you be a buyer?
So again, here is something where, the market leaders and the number 2 are engaged in a bit of a fight now in terms of market share after a long time. Bajaj has decided that they do care about the domestic market share and will be aggressively pursuing that. Whenever such a kind of assertion comes from a company which has reasonable depth in the balance sheet, you have to be sure that there will be some erosion in terms of prices and margin, in which case you don't necessarily want to go with the weakest player in the sector. We have seen that happen in the telecom. I'm not suggesting that we'll have a similar war in the two-wheelers, but even if there is a mild war, the better place to be is in the market leaders rather than in the laggards. So I think if you have to be in the two-wheeler space, my bet would be with Bajaj. Though it doesn't look like there is great news waiting to happen, but I think the fact that they have improving international market gives them enough leeway to fight with Hero in the domestic market.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's actually play out a conversation that we had with Kenneth Andrade, founder and CEO of Old Bridge Capital Management. We spoke to him about earnings and the kind of themes, sectors that he likes in the market at the moment.
Valuations came to an interesting level, and I think the follow-up on valuations were basically the quarterly numbers, which are also much better than most of the expectations that were there. So I think the culmination of these two, I think the worst is already done in this space. I think we're looking at pockets of opportunity which are cheap and which have reasonable amount of growth, and we'll try to pick businesses in that space. Number of companies that look attractive now are fewer than that they were in the last part of the cycle, which was about 2 years back, and that breadth is narrowing down to a couple of them that are there on the ground. There's intense amount of pricing pressure on the ground. I agree with that part of it all, and that helps the industry consolidate itself. Our sense is that we probably were a little early, or we probably were a little early into the cycle, and consolidation will play its way into the next year or two before spending comes back into the environment. The metal space in India is behaving reasonably different from what's happening across the world. There is reasonable amount of stress. So let's put it this way: overcapacity is not out of the cycle yet, and that's globally. In India, overcapacity is out of the cycle, and a large part of this industry has also been helped because of the tariffs that have been imposed on the entire system. My sense is that I'll watch. We're definitely mid-cycle way through that commodity space. I wouldn't be in a tearing hurry to add too many companies out there.
Welcome back. It's a quiet day. Both bulls and bears seems to have taken a bit of a rest today. Look at that chart. 0.01% is the change on the Nifty.
Yeah, I think in the morning, Surabhi was making this point that there's a bull and there's a bear and there's a jaguar. Today is a day of a jaguar. You just wait and wait and wait and attack when the opportunity comes. On individual stocks, you have seen that opportunity perhaps play out. Otherwise, on the index, really, it's been a very boring day.
Oh, absolutely. Ashwani, let's get you in on this. I mean, you've been maintaining a slightly overall positive bent of mind. So, looking at the very quiet action on the indices today, how would you start looking forward to Wednesday?
See, the issue is that we have had many days of expansion, and now possibly you could have some sideways days where the previous high on the Bank Nifty round, say 27,700 thereabouts, act as support. Similarly, Nifty, 100, 150 point type range. So basically 11,250 on the downside, maybe 11,450, 500 on the upside. So bit of sideways till the averages catch up, because with this sort of rate, you can't keep on moving further, where you were basically now in an accelerated uptrend. So churn and new stocks coming back, I don't see a major correction, but definitely you could have many sideways days before the market is ready for more.
Okay, fair point. Anand, I wanted your thoughts on these pharma names, because it looked like the big rally was on, but that's petered out, especially in the mid caps. Your thoughts here?
Well, I think there are enough mid-cap companies which are doing reasonably well even now. I mean, if you look at, it depends on whether you call Aurobindo a mid-cap. It has done a decent move. Granules has done exceedingly well in the recent past. Ipca is doing reasonably. So I think the bottom in pharma has clearly been made. Now the only question is how far up and how quickly. And I would think that one shouldn't get very euphoric about it. There still continues to be pricing pressure in the US. But I think the market still probably doesn't fully factor in the kind of margin and expansion that the companies are working at. Whenever we talk to any of the pharma companies, the impression we get is that there is, for the first time, serious cost cutting going on. And I think that will sustain margins, besides, of course, the fact that many of the companies have kind of refocused in other areas of business, especially other geographies, especially India and, parts of the non-regulated markets and so on. Of course, there are companies like Aurobindo which are also in Europe, but there the margins are likely to be lower. So by and large, I think the story is clearly there now, and the valuations are not that steep. So I think over the next 2-3 years, pharma should be something that will outperform.
Today's been a decent day for metals, both the kinds that shine and the ones that are used in industrial usage. So Titan obviously 3% up, and then I'm talking about metals. I mean, on a serious note, Tata Steel is still the index gainer, 4% up move on that stock today. Anand, would you look at any kind of plays? Because all these stocks have had a 2-week trading rally so far. They started bouncing somewhere around mid-July. Tata Steel, Vedanta, Hindalco. Do you see this lasting?
Well, the steel cycle is not going to ease off immediately. So I think, and aluminum also, the situation seems to be good, especially for companies like Hindalco, because they now have protection in the US as well, probably. So I think each of them have their own story. With the tariff barriers coming up, the domestic market, at least for most companies, will do very well. And therefore, to that extent, till new capacity comes back up on stream, I think you should find that they are reporting reasonable numbers. On the valuation, of course, there is a different issue. Some of them are probably now showing that they are near the cycle top. Not something that I would be very happy to kind of go and load up on from here on, but incrementally on a trading basis, you could, anytime there is a fall, I think you could look for a small rally and trade that kind of rally.
Okay, well, that's the day, gentlemen. Very, very quiet for the Nifty and the Sensex, even for the Nifty Bank, actually. Mid-caps down by about 50 points. Thank you very much for being with us on Closing Bell today. We will catch up with all of you soon again. So, Anuj, we start closing down. Call it a no man's day, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Very flat, Surabhi. 11,400 acting as perhaps a bit of a resistance, let's say. Today was not a sector-specific day. I mean, if you're looking at the top index gainers today, the 6 or 7 are all from different sectors. You have Tata Steel, which is up 4%, the Titan, which is up 3%, Asian Paints is up 2%, Eicher Motors is up 2%, Grasim is up 2%, Bajaj Finance is up 2%, Z up about 1.7%. So 7 stocks from 7 sectors. Then of course you have had Maruti, Hindalco, Bajaj Twins do well. On the way down, Adani Ports down 6% post those numbers. HP and BP are down ahead of the numbers. Coal India was down quite a bit. Sun Pharma was down in trade, and Axis finally had some gravity check, I think down about 1% on Axis Bank.
Okay, let's come to the mid-caps. The index has ended down with a cut of about 0.25%. So if I start talking about some of the key losers, you'll find largely a mix of result reactions or ASM moves. ASM entry exit, that obviously moves stocks a lot. On the result side, Avanti Feeds has been a disappointment, 12% lower. Adani Power down 10%. So Punjab National Bank has been the stock of the day for the wrong reasons, 8% down. Speaking of Punjab National Bank, let's pull up some of the other names on the PSU side. It's been a weak day for PSU banks. Andhra, OBC, Union, Bank of Baroda, most of these names, Syndicate Bank about 2% down. Most of the banks actually have had a weakish day beyond the index today. Coming back to the list of movers and shakers, we've had a weakness on Trident again on earnings. First Source has corrected quite a bit, 6% down on First Source, by the way, today. So these are some of the names on the downside. If I talk about the winners, Intellect Design Arena, because of news flow, some deal they've done with, they've got basically a business deal going with an Asian bank. So 14-15% up on that stock. International Paper was very steady today, 10 to 11% higher on that stock. And the metals and materials rally was extending to something like an NMDC, 6% up over there as well. Inox Leisure, VIP are some of the gainers other than that. If I talk about some of the other movers and shakers from the point of view of earnings, of course, TVS Motors beyond the index needs to be mentioned. 4% up on that stock as we are ending out the day. So those are some of the major ones to talk about. Arvind, by the way, has lost 4%. So that's one stock to note. Motherson Sumi is down 3.5% on earnings. So these are some of the major ones that we are looking at. That's been the day. Quiet session for the indices. Well, on that note, let's quickly move forward to a CNBC TV18 story. Utkarsh Chaturvedi traveled to Tata Motors Sanand plant in Gujarat, where he caught up with Mayank Parikh, president of passenger vehicles business at the company, and began by asking him about the turnaround plan to make the passenger vehicle segment profitable.
I think we have made a very tremendous progress, as you would know, on all aspects, and we started a process called turnaround. Essentially, Utkarshi based on 3 pillars. One is sales enhancement at a very rapid pace. Second very critical thing is to cut costs, all around costs. And third is improve operating efficiency. As we speak, the work is going on literally 24/7 on all these 3 pillars. As you can see, you would have seen the numbers. Our sales has been outperforming market for last 30 months continuously, and we hope to continue this trend. But very importantly, what we have done, very importantly, that we have been able to cut costs sharply. Just to give you some sense, the cost cut reduction target this year we have taken is 6 times more than whatever we had done in the past.
Areas where we are really working to cut costs and some of the results, if you can share with us.
I think very important the difference we made this year, reorganize or restructure our product development process. We decided that all our future products will be on 2 product architectures. One is Omega, another is Alpha architecture. Alpha architecture will have all cars up to the length 4.3 meters or thereabouts, and Omega will have all bigger cars. Omega incidentally is a platform which is coming from Range Rover, and first product on this Utkarsh will come in last quarter of this year. So this is a big change because it gives you economies of scale, it gives you advantage of commonization, it gives you reduced complexities, ease of manufacturing, and all that gives you operating leverage.
By when can we see the PV unit in profits?
Very soon.
Very soon. So speaking about the capacity right now, given the fact that you're working at peak capacities at Ranjangaon and Sanand plant at this point of time, what are the plans of capacity expansion?
Okay, see, 2 things first. You see, overall, still we have a big capacity utilization gap. Our overall capacity is around 500,000 vehicles, and we are not there. But important thing is, let's say Sanand plant, we are at near peak capacity here. So we are having big discussion and big plan to how do you ramp up this project. So first attempt is how can you debottleneck, can you do kaizens to improve capacity instead of completely putting new production facility and I think we have been quite successful in this.
Now you're present in a lot part of the market. What is the aim now? Once the Harrier comes in, once the ANP comes in, what is the kind of market share you're looking at?
Okay, market share is welcome to market share, but important thing is that we should cover the market completely. Despite whatever we have launched, sir, we cover only around 65% of the market. 35% is white space for us. So going first attempt will be with our 2 architecture, how do we really spread our footprint and market coverage? Second thing is from existing product, what type of extra numbers we can get. There are opportunities in the rural markets, fleet segments, and we are working on each of them to get more and more volumes.
Now, the Maharashtra government had announced a loan waiver of 34,000 crore rupees in June 2017 to help an estimated 89 lakh farmers in debt across the state. The idea was to bring them back into the formal credit cycle. But has it been successful in expanding the credit base, or has it resulted in digging the debt hole even deeper? Archana Shukla travelled to Vidarbha in Maharashtra to find out the ground reality.
There's not much to do for 25-year-old farmer Swapnil Kale. With no work available even as daily labourer during monsoons, Kale's hopes hinges on the cotton crop he has sown on the 4-acre land that sustains his family. Only a good produce will allow Kale to repay his private loans of over a lakh taken on for farming and his father's ailment.
पिताजी को लगा है 50 लग गए पिताजी को, और अभी जो पेरने के खेत में उसको लग गए 1 लाख हो गया.
Kale has been out of the formal credit cycle since 2013, when he defaulted on his 50,000 rupee crop loan in the drought year. Despite being eligible for the Maharashtra government's recent crop loan waiver scheme, formal credit has been elusive.
मैं गया था बैंक में, मैंने पूछा, वो बोल रहे थे कर्जा माफ हो गया, उन लोग बोल रहे कि वो ये आता, वो नोटिस आती बैंक से आपके कर्जा माफ हो गया, नोटिस ही नहीं आई.
हम दूसरे बैंक में जा रहे हैं लोन लेने के लिए, तो बोल रहे थे तुम वो लेटर लाओ बैंक का, हम बाद में लोन देते तुम्हारे को.
तो इस बार की फसल के लिए आपने पैसे कहाँ से लगाए?
बाहर से लाए तरफ से,
रिश्तेदार के पास के लाते हम, रिश्तेदार के पास के पैसे लाते, इनके बहन है, इनके बहन के पास के लाते हैं 30,000 बीमार पड़ले तो 80,000 रुपए लागले.
Farmers like Kale, who have seen successive drought years, failed crops and credit defaults, were at the heart of Maharashtra government's scheme to waive off up to 1.5 lakh rupees taken up till 2016. But most cotton farmers in Sangrud are still dependent on private money lenders.
नमस्कार. पीक कर्जा वगैरह मिला है?
नहीं मिला नहीं.
कितना खर्चा आता है आपका 2 एकड़ में?
2 एकड़ में आता 15,000.
कहाँ से लाए?
बाहर से लाया हमने. ब्याज से लाए.
ब्याज से?
हाँ.
आपको पीक कर्जा मिला इस बार?
नहीं मिला, अभी नहीं मिला.
पीक कर्जा नहीं मिला?
नहीं. माफी नहीं हुई.
माफी नहीं हुई आपकी?
नहीं.
कितना कर्जा था?
और मेरे तरफ होता 65,000।
State government's crop loan disbursement has still been slower than past years.
पीक कर्जा कितने लोगों को मिला होगा?
फिर तो बहुत अभी तो इस साल में तो खराब कंडीशन है, एक को भी नहीं मिला ऐसा बोलो।
Till July, Kharif crop loan disbursement in Akola district has been a mere 25% of the total target of 1,334 crore rupees. For two of the parched regions considered epicenters of farmer distress, Marathwada and Vidarbha saw crop loan disbursements of 27 and 34%. So why is loan disbursement so skewed despite a massive 34,000 crore rupees loan waiver scheme? Simple. Not all who got their loans waived off were eligible for fresh credit. In Akola, out of the 117,383 accounts that saw their defaulted loans being waived off, less than a third were eligible for new credit, and only 23,235 of those eligible got new loans.
Rest farmers are multiple accounts. There are many other things, multiple accounts, other loan accounts. Due to that reason, those farmers were not covered.
Besides, reluctance of both public and private sector banks to extend agri-credit has worsened the situation. District administration in certain regions like Yavatmal and Akola have been proactive enough to take stern action.
Even if few banks were reluctant about giving loans to farmers, I myself had taken action over the banks. We withdraw our 42 crore rupees from Axis Bank, and we withdraw 2 crore rupees from Canara Bank. We got positive result. After that, banks were very supportive and they fall in line.
But this is not the only reason for a lower credit dispersal. The banking community blames the loan waiver scheme to have created almost an equal number of new defaulters as those who got their loans waived off.
Out of the 206,000, if 122,000 who otherwise were very, very regular people,
okay,
they fall prey to a kind of an hope that yes, they will also get something. Now they have become defaulter. They are not qualified to get this season's new monies. So they are out of the mainstream.
This is not the story just of Akola. Farmers across the region are struggling with compounding debt and continue to bet on further waivers for a sustainable future. But how long can the government really keep waving the waiver flag? In Akola, with cameraman Bharat Kori, Archana Shukla.
Okay, that is the tryst that farmers in Vidarbha have with the situation with respect to debt. Moving on to some tech updates now. Microsoft just dropped new products from Surface laptop portfolio in the India market. CNBC TV18's Megha Vishwanath caught up with Dan Laycock from Microsoft Surface's global team at the company's headquarters in Redmond to get you the first look.
Today we're here to talk about not one, not two, but 3 new devices.
Yes.
What do we have right here?
So we'll start with the Surface Laptop.
Okay.
This is a device we launched in the US a year ago. It's a beautiful, very traditional clamshell form factor laptop. So you'll see, very thin, very light. I still get 13.5 hours of battery life from this device. And it's powered by a 7th generation Core i5 or Core i7 processor.
This is classic Surface in terms of the design, but what's new? Let's talk about what's new in this laptop and how is it different from its predecessors?
Well, this is the first generation of a true laptop for us, right? Prior to this, we had the Surface Pro, which was a 2-in-1, and the original Surface Book, which was a detachable laptop.
Okay, so let's go over the top specs on this device before we move on to the next one.
We'll just walk you through it a little bit. This is a 13.5-inch Pixel Sense screen.
Right.
I can use touch. I can use the Surface Pen if I'd like. Beautiful, accurate color for anything that you might be doing. There is a front-facing 5-megapixel camera, as well as a Windows Hello camera, so I can log in with my face as a password, which is incredibly convenient.
And that's device 1. Let's move on to device 2.
So we're going to do 2 and 3 together.
Okay.
This is the Surface Book 2. Beautiful and very powerful laptop for folks that do professional type work, whether
like
that's
editing or graphics, or it's perfect for them,
video,
right?
even 3D rendering.
So it's like a pro version.
Pro version. The one I'm holding here
Yeah.
is an 8th generation Core i7 machine with a terabyte of storage, with lots of room to do whatever it is that you'd want. This is a very unique device because I can detach the top.
Okay, so all you have to do is press the detach
Press
button.
and hold it, and you'll hear, there's a little sound that you'll hear.
I
there
did.
You go. And then it'll come off.
Then you just pull it out. Oh, this is incredibly light. I expected it to be heavier.
Discrete graphics are in the base.
Okay.
So if I'm doing something like playing a game or doing photo editing, I'd want to be plugged in so I get the full, it's an NVIDIA GTX 1060 or a 1050 in this one. But when I pull it off, I still have the processor, I have a good portion of the battery.
1/3 of the battery is packed in the screen and 2/3 on the keyboard.
Correct.
So that it's easy to carry. If I just want to use this as a tablet, I can do that. Let's talk money.
The laptop starts at $799 in the US. The Surface Book 2 begins at $1,199 in the US.
That was a quick look at the 3 new devices from Surface that are now available in India. We're coming to you from the headquarters in Redmond.
Welcome back, and let's talk commodities now, where we have seen a lot of movement come in there. But let's really start with the rice prices first, because they have been increasing for the last couple of months. We have seen the global prices also continue to gain. But there are a couple of things that the Indian markets perhaps are watching now. One, of course, is that China for the first time has opened its market, and we could be exporting basmati and non-basmati rice to the country. On the other side, what the country also is facing some non-clarity or uncertainty when it comes to Iran, because that is one of the better markets that India has seen in last many years in sense of exports there. The prices, as I said, have been inching on the higher side. We also have seen the rice stocks perform quite well during the day today. Vijay Sethia is president of All India Rice Exporter Association, and he joins us on the phone line to decode what really is happening with that space. Vijay, hi, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what is the scene with China? We do understand that some companies have got clearance to export. What are the numbers that we exactly are looking at?
Yeah, so far 19 rice mills are approved by Chinese government. They send their experts to validate the Indian mills, their hygiene standards, their way of working, everything they evaluated. And they have advised to some other mills for minor more improvements, and they will add those numbers to this list. This is one.
So how many companies
Secondly,
in total do you think would be exporting rice?
Right now there are 19 companies they can export.
Okay.
And others will join later. So this is the first scenario. Second thing, government of China and government of India both are negotiating with each other. So a delegation of rice exports, sugar people, soybean people, and farmer people with the senior government officers visited the China in Beijing last week. So for rice, they were very positive because with the rice side, so rice side, COFCO, the main importing institution of China, they discussed they wanted non-basmati rice, they want broken rice.
Okay.
This was their priority. Then the private traders who get smaller amount of quota from the government, they are also keen to import basmati rice. And they are ready to pay higher price. There is they only want good quality. And there one thing they pointed out, our people are right now in a habit of eating freshly milled rice, slightly sticky. They are buying jasmine, so they are looking at Indian rice from that point of view. So we told them that as the Indian rice gets older, it becomes more fluffy, more better. So they said they will try with the new, and later we will gradually start with the old rice also. So this is very encouraging sign. And our companies have I can say, in a final stage of negotiation with the private companies, not the COFCO. COFCO said that they will take time, they will take little more.
So as you said, we are in the final stage of this conversation. How soon do you see India actually make that first container export out?
COFCO said they will go with the 100 tons trial order in the non-basmati segment. And the private traders, they were very keen. Maybe in next couple of days, I can say in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something will paper recorded as a contract. And I think the business will start within 1 month.
Okay. I also want to explore the other side of it, that is Iran, because India exports to Iran quite a lot. With the whole US sanctions thing going on, is there a bit of a concern on the exports to that country?
You see one thing. The USA never imposed any sanctions on any country for food and pharma.
Right.
Because the concerns are between the governments, not with the people. So American government or other governments and wherever these issues have come. So rice is a food grain, so it is not going to be affected. And there are other things that how they will make the payments. In the past, it was Indian rupees.
Right.
And hopefully the same mechanism will again come into existence. One thing is about Iranian market, to protect their own production, to protect their own farmers. They also grow rice. So every year for 3-4 months, they put an import ban.
Yeah, okay,
so it came into existence from 22nd of July, and it is still in the force. So for next...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really wanting to know, okay, with the Iran thing, as you explained, it doesn't really look like a threat right now. But what is your sense in this year? How much exports of rice can India look at? Is on a year-on-year basis, do you think that the number can be considerably higher?
You see, we are exporting around 4 million tons of basmati, and I think we will achieve that target. That's all, because there are some areas of where we are still working for the corrections, like EU. Without validating, without any basis, they suddenly reduced tricyclazole level from 1 ppm to 0.01. So they don't have a scientific reasons for doing that. And the problem is many countries follow the European standards, so that causes sometimes worry. But our government and our trade bodies, they are also concerned. So a lot of negotiations are going on, and I hope things will be sorted out by the time we will come into full flow.
What's your sense on the prices? Are you expecting the prices to move much higher from here?
Because when the new crop comes, there is always a pressure on the farmers and on the rice millers to manage the materials. For some time, the prices will remain stagnant.
Okay.
And and then the rice is picked up by the buyers. So slowly prices goes up. And every year, October...
So you don't see a decline in prices in any case? You see consolidation to upswing? All right, okay.
Yeah, it will be stable and then slowly will go up.
Point taken, Mr. Sethia. Thank you so much for joining us and explaining the whole thing to us. So that really seems to be like a sector which is has been in news and will continue to buzz forward as we see those exports to China. But Prathamesh Malya also joins us now with his strategies on that space. Prathamesh, I thank you for joining us. What is your sense? First of all, we've spoken agro already, but what's your sense now on the metal space? Because that has been a very volatile sector. We've seen prices actually gain up for some of those metals in bits and pockets. Do you think this is a good time now to start accumulating?
Hello Manisha, I think the US-China thing is actually bothering sentiments across the metals, and the real positive move in today's sentiment is not really changing the entire scenario. So I would still be on the sell side for all the metals, but given if you want to take a bit of risk, I would be a buyer of nickel at this price. I think 975 is what we are looking at immediate targets. I think current market price at 940, 945 is good area to enter. So in the metal space, nickel is one thing which I would suggest to be on the buy side. Lead, zinc, I would avoid for the time being because there's no clarity of thought. Risk reward ratios are also not favoring. I think for copper, I think something from Esconeta would definitely bring a cheer for copper. I think 425 and 430 are two particular marks that you would look for, and I would take a little bit of a risk and be on the buy side as far as copper is concerned, just for the day or two.
How are you also looking at the gold and silver prices now? Because, clearly the attention, favoritism is quite low when it comes to precious metals. But gold at these prices, trading just about at $10 per ounce, you think this is perhaps a place to start?
I think, Manisha, gold and silver, the overall trend for this commodity is low. Given that it looks like bargain hunting at this levels would be a good opportunity. But then, given a sense wherein all the money is moving towards dollar, I think stronger dollar is something which would not favor precious metals. And I think the correction is still due as far as gold is concerned. I think $1,200 would be act as a psychological barrier. So in that sense, $10 fall in rupee terms would translate out to be around a fall of 200 to 250 rupees. So I would be seller at this levels on gold. As far as silver goes, I think it's trading at 38,500. I'm expecting a correction in this particular metal towards 37,800. So fall of around 800 to 700 rupees is what we're expecting in both these metals. Not to be on the buy side for both these metals.
All right, we get that, Prathamesh. Thank you so much for joining us. That clearly is the view coming in from metals, as you can trade them for the very near term. But with that, it's a wrap up on this edition of Closing Bell. Thank you for watching.